If you are based in the United Arab Emirates and you're thinking about moving to the Netherlands, there is a number you need to know before you make any decisions. The top income tax rate in the Netherlands is 49.5%. You're currently paying 0%. That gap is real. It's significant, and most of the content about moving to the Netherlands doesn't spend much time on it, because most of that content is written for people who aren't coming from a zero tax environment. This video is specifically for you. The honest version of what happens to your taxes when you move from Dubai to the Netherlands before you commit. I've been working in Netherlands immigration and business setup for many years. A large share of the people I work with come from the United Arab Emirates, the Gulf, other regions where the tax environment looks very different from what they will find here. And that conversation happens too late for too many of them, after the decision is already made. I'm going to give you the picture up front. Let's start with income tax. The Dutch income tax system, box 1, is graduated. You don't pay the top rate on everything you earn. Different rates apply to different income brackets. The first bracket runs up to roughly 38,000 euros. That's taxed at around 37%. Everything above approximately 75,000 euros, that's taxed at 49.5%. If you're earning 150,000 euros a year, realistic for a lot of business owners from the Gulf, you're not paying 49.5% on all of it, but you're paying it on everything above the upper threshold. The effective rate across total income will be well above 37%. For someone who has been operating in Dubai at 0%, this is a real shift. Not a reason to stay, but a number that needs to be in your planning. If you're taking home 150,000 euros in Dubai, work out what that same income looks like after Dutch tax, and whether it changes how you structure your business and your compensation. The 30% ruling, who it applies to. You have probably heard about the 30% ruling. The idea is that a portion of your income can be treated as tax-free to compensate for the cost of relocating from abroad. But most content doesn't explain clearly the 30% ruling applies to employed workers, specifically to highly skilled employees recruited from abroad to work for a Dutch employer. That extra cost compensation, up to 30% of salary, can be treated as tax-free. The percentage is being phased down toward 27% by 2027. But the more important point, it applies to employees, not to self-employed entrepreneurs on a startup visa or self-employed permit. If you're moving to the Netherlands as a business owner through the startup visa, the self-employed permit, the HSM route via your own BV, or the Ankara Treaty path if you're Turkish, the 30% ruling generally doesn't apply. For DGA owners who form a BV to obtain residency, Dutch tax authorities typically deny the ruling because the recruited from abroad criterion isn't met in the usual sense. That's something to verify with a Dutch tax advisor for your specific situation. This catches a lot of people. They have read about the 30% ruling, factored it into their planning, and then find out it doesn't apply. That's an expensive assumption to get wrong. So, income tax at Dutch rates, no 30% ruling offset if you're self-employed. That's the income picture. Box 3, the tax on your money abroad. Now the part that surprises most people from the Gulf. The Netherlands has a wealth tax. It's called Box 3, and it applies to assets, savings, investments, property you own outside your primary residence. Box 3 applies to your worldwide assets, not just what you hold in the Netherlands, not just what's here, all of it, including your bank account in Dubai, including investments in your home country, including property outside the Netherlands. The Netherlands taxes you on the assumed return on those assets, not on actual gains or income from them, but on a notional return calculated by the tax authorities. If you have 500,000 euros in savings in a UAE account, the Dutch tax system will calculate a notional return on that money and tax it accordingly, even if that money earned nothing in reality. I want to be clear about something. This area of Dutch tax law has been through significant changes in recent years, including court rulings that change how Box 3 is calculated. The exact mechanics of how this applies to your specific situation depend on your circumstances, the types of assets involved, and where things stand legally at the time you move. This is generally a conversation you need to have with a Dutch tax advisor before you relocate. Someone who can look at your specific asset picture and give you accurate numbers. What I've seen consistently for people coming from the UAE with real savings, investments, or property outside the Netherlands, Box 3 is a significant number. It's the tax element that surprises people most. Because it's not income tax, it's a tax on assets they assumed were outside the Dutch system entirely. What this means before you move. So put it together. You move from Dubai, your income is now taxed at Dutch rates. Top rate 49.5% on a portion above the upper bracket. The 30% ruling that you have heard about doesn't apply because you're self-employed. And your worldwide assets, savings, investments, property outside the Netherlands are subject to the Dutch Box 3 rate. That's a very different financial picture than most people expect going in. Does this mean the Netherlands doesn't work for you? Not necessarily. And for many people, it does. It still does. The Netherlands offers stability, EU access, a strong business environment, and for some people, particularly those coming from countries with political or economic instability, those things have real value that goes beyond a tax calculation. But the tax calculation needs to happen before you move, not after. Specifically, before you move, you want to understand what your effective tax rate looks like on your actual income. You want to know whether the 30% ruling applies to your situation. And if it doesn't, you want to know that clearly before you factor it into your planning. And you want to understand your Box 3 exposure, what assets you have, where they are, and what the Dutch tax treatment of those assets looks like. There are questions for a Dutch tax advisor who works with an entrepreneur or entrepreneurs from the Gulf, not generic immigration information. Specific numbers, specific assets, specific situation. Now, the honest picture. I want to be direct about something. The Netherlands is not a zero tax environment. Nobody should move there expecting otherwise. The tax system is one of the things you trade for stability. EU access, strong infrastructure, healthcare, education. The things that make the Netherlands worth considering in the first place. But that trade-off needs to be made with accurate information. Not the assumption that the 30% ruling covers, not the assumption that your assets in Dubai are invisible to the Dutch tax system. With the actual numbers in front of you, the people who move to the Netherlands have done this calculation clearly. Who know what they are paying and why. Generally make the transition well. The ones who get surprised by the tax reality after they have already moved that have a harder time. So in other words, the ones who get surprised by the tax reality after they have already moved have a harder time. Please keep that in mind. The video is meant to make sure you're in the first group, not the second. 3 things to take away. 1. Dutch income tax reaches 49.5% on income above the upper bracket. For someone coming from 0% in the United Arab Emirates, that gap is significant and needs to be in your financial planning. Number 2. The 30% ruling does not apply to self-employed entrepreneurs on startup or self-employed permit routes. If you have heard about it and assumed it would apply to you, check that assumption before you plan around it. Number 3. Box 3 taxes your worldwide assets, including savings and investments held outside the Netherlands. If you have meaningful assets in the United Arab Emirates or elsewhere, this is a conversation to have with a Dutch tax advisor before you move. If you want to understand the full picture of what moving to the Netherlands as an entrepreneur actually costs, not just taxes, but all of it, I made a video on exactly that. It's already on the channel, link is in the description. And if you haven't worked out yet which visa route applies to your specific situation, that video is already up. I'd watch that one first. Subscribe if you want more content like this. 1 video a week specifically for non-EU entrepreneurs thinking about the Netherlands.